Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, reporting to you from COVID land, shelter in place, California, Central California. Getting some good weather this week. We're getting in the mid 80s to the 90s, low 90s. So we'll see what happens here in Cali. But hey, I wanted to answer a reader question that just came in today. I thought was a great question and a great concern of raising objections about the whole scouting services industry. So I wanted to read the email from Ryan. He says, "Hey Joey, so what are your thoughts on scouting services like PBR, Perfect Game, etc., who base their player rankings almost exclusively on numbers, EV or effective velocity, batted ball distance, pitching velocity mostly, and now things like spin rate? I can give you plenty of examples of kids hitting 100-mile-an-hour EV off of tees, front flips, coach pitched batting practice, and then they don't hit worth squat in the game. And another kid with an 80-mile-per-hour EV consistently barreling pitches and getting on base. But because his approach and routine is good, his vision and pitch recognition is better, his game IQ is better. Numbers are only numbers unless they apply to the game. Another example, a high school pitcher popping a couple 85s at a winter showcase, but has never done a single thing that mattered on a field. Kids like these, who I have seen many times, were ranked much higher up on a ranking system based on projections than the actual players, gamers that have produced on the field without the special video game-like numbers." Ryan. Okay, so let me come down to my response here, and I would just kind of briefly go through this. Again, this is a great question, and these concerns and objections I hear from other coaches, other parents, and even some of my players. Unfortunately, no grading system is perfect. That's just a fact. As you know, I love data and numbers, but without context, they're useless. And this is actually somewhat the basis of the new book that I'm working on about pitch plane domination. Just like college admissions, they don't just base admissions solely on grades and SAT and ACT scores. There's other things involved, like what other sport that you play, other kind of outside extracurricular stuff that they're involved in, what kind of nonprofit stuff do they helping to do, and volunteer work, all that kind of stuff. Scouting shouldn't just base their scouting solely on numbers either. So I agree with Ryan in this. Look, ultimately players must perform in games. That is above all. Most of the scouts, my buddies that are scouts, coaches, college coach scouts, or college coaches that are recruiting for their colleges, they talk about this over and over and over. They talk about, if you send me video of a hitter hitting 40 out of 50 line drives, I'm going to give that hitter more of a look than the hitter that sends me a video of them hitting half of that line drives. Half of the 50 swings, 25 swings are not line drives. They're going to tell that player to go work on what they're doing. That being said, my players say the two most effective things, we actually had a conversation with the really small groups we're doing right now using Lysol and hand sanitizer and our 6-foot social being apart and also being outside as well. We were talking about this, and the two most effective things, because I have a couple younger high schoolers coming up and I have a couple high schooler seniors that are going out, and I just asked the seniors their advice to the younger ones on what was the most impactful decisions that they made when it come to getting their portfolio out there. And the two most effective things that they talked about in the recruiting process was PBR and going to live college showcases, talking and chatting with the coaches, actually being there physically with the coaches. Now, here's what I'd like to see the grading system include. Now, this is just hitting wise. This isn't about pitching or fielding or whatever, just hitting wise, because I'm more into the hitting world, love the hitting world than the others. But in the hitting side, what I would love to see, and this is something we've talked about in another video with Perry Husband, he's got a little grading system as well, where 2 of the 3 phases are off the tee. The first phase are ball exit speeds, just basic ball exit speeds, middle. Then he, for 10 swings, measuring ball exit speeds, using either a basketball or some sort of where you can hit a heavier ball. Actually, the regular baseball's first, and then the second phase is hitting the weighted ball. So whether it's a basketball or whatever, and seeing the difference in the speeds hitting a regular ball versus the weighted ball And what that's going to tell you is that's going to tell you if there's some leaking going on in the system. There's some power leakage going on to where when they put a swing on a heavy ball, which we should see somewhat similar ball exit speeds, obviously there's going to be some change there because the ball's heavier, but we shouldn't see drastic changes between like a 20%, I think is what Perry talks about, 20% difference between hitting a baseball and hitting say a basketball. Should be less than, or should be about 20%, shouldn't be any more than that, in the speeds, difference in the speeds. So those are the two phases that he does. And the third phase is live pitching. So what we want to see here is we want to collect ball exit speeds. We also want to, what Perry uses is a 10 to 15 degree, it's in line with for the most part, with the ball coming in, a target, a kind of a bullseye target that the hitter has to hit through. If they hit it through the middle, they get, I think it's 4 points. I think it's on a 4-point system. If it's around the ring, they get 3 points. If it's a foot from the ring, they get 2 points. If it's outside of that, they get 1 point. So that will tell you barrel control wise on the verticals. And you get to see the timing of that hitter as well because it's live pitching. And if their ball exit speeds stay up during, well, they're going to be more than off the tee, but are the ball exit speeds consistently high on live? And if they're not, then that's a question as well. So those three phases, off the tee with the baseball, off the tee with the weighted ball, and then live pitching, and you're taking off live pitching and you're taking the ball exit speeds, and they're hitting that target, you have a point system for that. So that would be a really good system. Just to keep it simple, just doing that probably would be 10 times better than what they're doing now, because you are taking ball exit speeds in all those senses. So ball exit speeds, those are good, because again, if a ball exit speed's down in that player like Ryan's talking about, where they got an 80 versus 100 mile an hour ball exit speed, and in the game they do really well, they outperform, well, we can make that player better. We can take them from 80 to 100. That's the question. So there has to be a balance between the two. Can't be just 100 mile an hour ball exit speed and the player sucks in the game. And it can't be 80 miles an hour ball exit speed and the player's awesome in the game. Well, we got to find a happy medium. Even if we could get 90 in the game and performing well, that would even be pretty good at most levels. Attack and launch angles, we'd like to see those off of a tee. We'd like to see those pretty similar in number. So if their attack angle's 10 degrees, their launch angle's 10 degrees. What we're looking for is barrel control. And if we're seeing this drastic up and down, so one swing they take a 25 degree launch angle, but their attack angle's 10 degrees, or they got a 40 degree launch angle and they got an attack angle of 20 degrees. Like, we want to see how they control the barrel off the tee, because if they can do that over 10 swings, then generally, as a rule, they understand the adjustments necessary to take a ball that's hit fly ball to the second baseman or a 5-hopper to the shortstop, and they know how to go from those two outcomes back to the center, back to a line drive. So attack and launch angles, I like to see these almost consistently equal. Again, the key word is consistently equal, okay? Off of the tee or soft toss, which shows a good feel for barrel control on the verticals. I call those verticals. Ball set up middle on the tee, and if a hitter pulls or goes oppo too much, this will show line-to-line control. So oftentimes when we start with our hitters, we have them set up on a middle off the tee, off the backsman tee, and we'll take maybe 5 swings, we'll ball exit speed those. And what I'm watching for, not only in the ball exit speeds, but I'm watching for their control if they're pulling the ball too much. So if it's a righty pulling into the left side of the cage too much, or a lefty doing the same, or they're going oppo, so a righty keeps hitting the right side of the cage too much, like all 5 swings right side of the cage, or all 5 swings left side of the cage, then I know something's going on there, that they're over rotating maybe their lower half or upper half, or they're under rotating. Something's happening there that we need to fix. So that's another good indicator grading system that we can use for hitters to measure what I call the horizontals. So we're measuring ball exit speed, so the ball coming off the bat. We're measuring the vertical control barrel, how well the hitter can control their barrel when it comes to the verticals. And we're wanting to measure the hitter's barrel control when it comes to line to line and pulling versus oppo versus going up the middle. Then we start getting into the timing side of things, and we use the 2-plate drill, the varied reaction live toss drill is what I used to call it. Simply the 2-plate drill. You have the hitter take 6 swings, you have them change plates. You'll have one plate, the pitcher doesn't change where they're at, the coach throwing the ball. So the coach can be at 30 feet, could be 40 feet, 20 feet, whatever, from the hitter at the original plate. And then there's another plate that's going to be about 5 feet in front of the original plate. So you have maybe a 20 to 30 foot difference between the two plates, 5 to 10 foot difference, but we want some sort of a difference in the depth of where the pitch is. The closer plate obviously is using like a faster pitcher, right? Is simulating a faster pitcher, and the farther plate is simulating the slower pitcher. So a 2-plate drill hitting live, where the hitter switches plates, set at 2 different distances. Can also throw in some over-underloaded bats. So you can take maybe, say, an anchor bat, the red, big red, the Goliath, that's a +6, 34, so 34, 40 ounce bat, or a 32 +4, 32, 36 ounce bat. Throw that in their hands, and they're switching plates. You can have them maybe swing a 32, 27, and I know we're talking more junior highers and high schoolers here, so you can adjust this with the younger hitters. But we want to see what happens to their timing when we're overloading them and underloading them with their bats. Also, what's happening when we're having them switch plates. How well do they do with timing changes? So that's another great way to grade hitters that I would love to see at some of these showcases, the PBRs or the other ones, some of the other ones that Ryan talked about. Then the last one I would say, and you don't have to do all these, but you definitely need something to test what their exit speed off the bat is. Got to know how hard they're hitting the ball. Then got to know how well they can make adjustments to their verticals, how much barrel control they have when they're on their verticals, then their control over line to line, and then timing. So basically 4 things we want to look at here. So the random live pitch rounds. Now this is where you're going to see the 80 mile an hour ball exit speed, but great in a game kid that Ryan was talking about is going to do probably pretty well on this random live pitch round, because they have a little bit better pitch recognition skills, they have better timing mechanisms, they have maybe an approach, and that's what we're all testing in a random live pitch round. And simply all you have to do, sit from 30 feet, 40 feet, 20 feet, whatever. And baseball, obviously we're throwing curveballs. With softball, maybe you can throw change-ups or whatever, but you want either a change in speed or a change in plane of the pitch, so that you can gauge the hitter and how well they can make adjustments. So this is where, again, the coach mixes fastballs and curveballs, and you're testing the hitter to see if they have an approach, see what happens if they swing and miss, or maybe freeze on a pitch they probably should have swung at. See what happens to them after that. What kind of adjustments to their approach, what happens to their mentality, what happens to their psyche. Do you see them spiraling? Do you see the confidence still stay up and you see them actively making those adjustments? So that's my 2 cents. And again, don't take this. This isn't the gospel. This isn't always check and experiment for yourself. But that's what I would say we'd like to have in these kind of showcases. Would give us a better sense, I think, of a hitter and their skill to be able to transfer from BP setting into the game. This would help determine strength in mechanics, consistently high ball exit speeds, control of verticals, attack and launch angles we talked about, control of horizontals, their line-to-line approach, and game pitching pressures with a combo of the 2-plate drill, which would test timing. And we can, again, add overload or underload bats in there, or random pitch rounds, which would test their approach and how they make adjustments to their approach. Again, just my 2 cents, but, and I told Ryan I'm probably shoot a video on this because I think that was a great question. So I hope that answered a lot of questions. If you have any other questions, please post them below the video. Otherwise, make sure that we're swinging smarter by moving better. And before I let you go, the Hitting Performance Lab wants to know, did you know repeatable hitting power does not start in the hips? Have you heard the expressions, load and explode the hips? Power comes from the hips. Well, we created a free video revealing the results of a scientific study that will show you how we added 48 feet of batted ball distance instantly. And it's not all about the hips. Click here now to get the video while it's still free.